Hello and good morning, friends. Today, I'm gonna take you with me on an inspection for a house that's actually a foreclosure. Hasn't been lived in for quite a while, but it is from 2001. So hopefully, when we look at that tank over there, we don't find any shenanigans. So let's go ahead, pop open those lids, see what we're working with, because we don't have any county records. Alrighty, so we've got the riser open. Thank goodness the tank's not super deep. So this is usually what we'll see in the early 2000s around where we're at. So we'll have this black corrugated piping with a concrete lid. Now, somebody went ahead, flipped this bad boy upside down. You can see the handles right over there. I guess the reason they were trying to do that was to make it a little bit more of a smooth surface, but it really makes it really annoying for the person trying to take off the lid. The reason being is that handle is gonna get stuck on the inside of that corrugated pipe. Again, not the end of the world, just annoying. I mean, those handles are basically all rotted off anyway, so it really doesn't matter. But these risers are super important. Most of the homes in our area are gonna start having them after about the mid-90s, depending on the county you're in. Every system nowadays, whenever it's a brand new install, is gonna have one regardless of what you want, right? Now, the benefit of these risers, as we've discussed previously, is you get a much more thorough cleaning of the tank. A better cleaning of the tank will basically make it to where your absorption system can last longer because less debris, junk, all sorts of stuff is getting into the pipes and causing additional stress on the system. Now, we have a clean out on the front, riser in the middle, but we don't have access on the back of the tank. So in order for us to scope the pipes to find the distribution box and the drain field and all that good stuff, we've got to dig up the back lid on the tank. So how I'm going to do that is we're going to get my probe and some flags, mark out where the edges of the tank are, see how it's oriented, and start digging, baby. While we're doing that, though, we're going to want to make sure that we introduce some water into the system. We've covered hydraulic loads in the past, but this part of the process is incredibly important. You want to make sure that while you're looking at the functionality of the drain fields, not only are you probing the stone, looking at the stone, making sure everything's doing what it's supposed to do, you want to put some water through it to see, does it drain the way it's supposed to drain? You'd be shocked how often I've seen everything look the way that it's supposed to look, but because somebody didn't do it right, they put it in clay. Now, once you put water in, it doesn't drain right. We're doing the hydraulic load. It's very important to make sure that we figure out how big is this house and what's it designed for. So this particular home is a 4-bedroom house. And so what that means is the design spec should be able to accommodate 8 people every single day for 30 or 40 years. So in our state, we usually do this by bedrooms times 2. With the bedrooms times 2, basically you're gonna get your occupancy. So we got 4 bedrooms times 2, that's 8 people. We assume 75 gallons per person, so that means our daily flow should be about 600 gallons of water. Now, we don't know how long this house has been vacant. It is a foreclosure. We want to make sure that we put a good amount of water through there to see what happens. Ideally, nothing, right? So what we're going to aim for is we're going to aim for about 300 gallons, so about half of the peak flow. Depending on how that goes, we might increase or decrease. So for example, if we start to see it backing up, we're going to decrease the amount of water until we can figure out why is it backing up. And if it's still flowing great, we'll keep pushing the water and see what happens. Again, a drain field that's working correctly, you shouldn't see any kind of change at all. So I'm going to grab the hose real quick. We're going to toss it in the tank. And while we're doing that, we're going to probe out the edges to figure out where everything is. So when we're trying to find the lid on a tank, it's very important to make sure you have a T-probe just like that and some flags. So we see the clean out there, riser. So we know the lid's going to be somewhere back here. And the only way that we can really find it is to figure out where the edges are. So we know that we've got an edge right here. The back of the tank's right there. And the other edge is over there. So that means that in the middle, right here, should be our square lid. So if you're stuck trying to find a lid and you don't have one of these, the best thing I can advise, figure out how the tank's oriented, pick the front, pick the back, start digging, right? Once you find the lid on the front, it's just a straight line to the middle lid, which is going to be that lid right there, or the lid on the back. Hopefully your system already has an access point at the surface to make things a little bit easier for you. If your system does not, once you dig it up, I would recommend that you consider putting one on so that we don't have to worry about doing that again. The reason why you want to figure out the orientation of the lid or the tank is because in our area, all of the tank lids are going to be dead center, right? So once you figure out how it's oriented, where everything is, finding the lid is just as simple as digging the hole. Now, if you're one of our friends up north, maybe in Pennsylvania, I know that they use circular tanks. That kind of sucks. Unfortunately, unless you know what direction the inlet's coming in, finding that lid kind of is a pain in the butt. And usually they're little circular 6-inch plugs. So if you have one of those, the best advice I can give you is do your best to figure out how the pipe comes into the tank. Start there and just start working around until eventually you find the lid. Those ones should also have 3 lids, but we don't usually get circular ones too often in our area. Everything's almost always rectangular. So the next step is I'm gonna take my nice good old shovel, dig up that lid, and see what we're working with. Alrighty friends, so we got this lid off. It's what I expected, a little 12 by 12 lid. This one, unfortunately, is missing the top corner. Not a big deal, we can get that fixed up in a few minutes. But what's very important to see is that we have our baffle in place. So this particular baffle is what we would refer to as a replacement baffle. The reason why is the old concrete baffle, which is this fella right over here, should extend all the way across and you shouldn't be able to see into the tank like that. Now, you might be asking, what's the purpose of a baffle? You see all that stuff right here? We call that scum. It's not supposed to be able to get into the pipe. The baffle, its sole job is to prevent that floating stuff from getting in the pipe and causing problems. Now, these baffles are required in our state. Hopefully they're required in your state. A good pumper should always be looking in the tank when they pump to see, is that still there? So if your pumper pumps out your tank, doesn't look for the outlet baffle, it's not a good idea to hire him again because he's doing you a disservice. Now that we have that open though, it's gonna be the next step of running a camera through the pipe. And ideally when we run this camera through, we should hopefully be able to find the distribution box. Now, we don't have records, so we don't know exactly what we're working with, don't know how many drain fields to expect, where the distribution box is, but if I had to guess, it's gonna be somewhere right behind me, hopefully not in all of that dense foliage, right? Foreclosed homes are always fun because who knows how long it's been since somebody actually mowed the lawn, and yeah, not looking to get ticks, so we're praying for something close. I'll see you once I figure out where the box is. We got super lucky. Thank goodness this distribution box is only about 6 foot away from the tank. You can see here that it's only a few feet from the tank. I've already gone ahead and marked out the edges of the box, so that way it'll be really easy to dig it up. Now, the interesting thing is, what direction do we think the drain fields are gonna go? It's either gonna go that way, or it's gonna go that way. Now, if I had to guess the direction, I actually think we might be going straight back. We'll take a look though in a few seconds once we get this box open, and we'll be able to see what direction are the drain fields going. While I'm digging though, I'm gonna give you a homework assignment. While we're doing this, I want you to think, what direction do you think the drain fields are gonna go? So we got 3 options. We got either directly behind the house, parallel to the home, directly into the woods, directly behind the tank, or do we think it's gonna go the opposite direction of the first option and go towards the other wood line away from the house? So go ahead, leave that comment below, and I'll see you in a few seconds when I get this distribution box open. Alrighty, so ran into a little bit of a hiccup, but nothing too crazy. So we can see here that somebody actually ran a cable over top of the distribution box. This cable is gonna be a DirecTV line, right? Thank goodness we were using a hand shovel, so we didn't damage the wire, but in the state of Maryland, you're not allowed to do that. You can't have any kind of utility cable, power, Ethernet, anything like that over top of your septic, because somebody has to dig this up at some point. And with a distribution box, that's one of the main spots you're gonna be digging up. Most guys don't use a hand shovel, so fortunately, when I was using a hand shovel, we didn't hit it. But if I was using a machine, that wire would have gotten ripped up, and guess what? Now you don't have TV. The lesson to be learned here is whenever you're getting any kind of service provider to install something at your home, it's very important to make sure that you tell them where your septic system is and to ensure that they route all of the utilities around and away from the system. Because one day you're gonna have to dig up your septic. Everybody does. Something's gonna fail, and you don't wanna be stuck in that weird position of now having to fix the TV also. So we're still gonna continue to work. I gotta get that box open, and as soon as I get that box open, I'll see you in a second. This is our distribution box. So we can see here, this is gonna be our inlet pipe, which is gonna be coming from the tank. You can see the corrosion on the sidewalls of the tank. We got 1 drain field, 2, 3, and 4. So whenever you have a drain field like this, you wanna kind of scrape the walls to see what happens. Ideally nothing, but with the corrosion from the sewer gases, we wanna make sure that nothing crazy is going on structurally. Even though this system's not terribly old, it's not a super young system, so we could run into the eventual need to replace the box. So just scraping the walls will kind of help us find any dead spots. So in a second, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and take the camera, we're gonna run it through all the pipes. We wanna see, Is the pipe from the home to the tank looking good? Is the pipe from the tank to the box looking good? And where do those drain fields go? So I'll see you in a few seconds. So we just got done running the camera and we were able to figure out exactly where the drain fields are. And one of you is going to be correct. So let's go ahead and take a look. So it actually turns out that the drain fields are running that way. So they're going into the woods, right? Kind of, it makes sense, especially with the bottom part of the hill over here. We don't want to have any kind of water. That area would make sense, but we don't know how far back the property goes. There is a home over there somewhere. You can kind of see it in the woods, maybe not on the camera though. Over here probably makes the most sense. So we've got 4 drain fields. All 4 drain fields look good with the camera and they probe dry, so that is pretty good. With a foreclosed home, you never really know what you're gonna get or what you're walking into, especially if you have a house that's got no records like this one. Now, the records probably exist somewhere, but the county couldn't figure out where they were, so who knows? The home is from 2001, so the odds of there being something super weird is not super high, because usually in our area, it's gonna be the older houses that have the goofy stuff. As we've talked in the past, I think it's very, very important that if you're ever looking to purchase a home, especially if it's an investment, this one could be an investment or a primary home. It actually looks pretty good on the inside compared to any of the other foreclosures I've been to. But whenever you're trying to buy one of these houses, in my opinion, you should always get as thorough of an inspection on the system as you can. Run the camera through the pipes, dig things up if necessary. Spend that little bit of money to make sure that everything's working, because septic systems are expensive. In our area, you can see these systems get anywhere from 10 to 20. I've even seen some properties go to $50,000 or $80,000. Now, this particular property is in a pretty good area. The soil's usually pretty good. There's no weird water table shenanigans going on. So they probably would not end up with one of those crazy, oh my God, type systems. But you never know what you're gonna get, right? On a foreclosed home, that person could have put a whole bunch of concrete into the sewer line. They could have parked a dump truck on top of the tank. They could have taken a mini excavator and destroyed something, and you would never have known until you move in. So it's very important to make sure you get everything looked at and at least scoped with the camera. This particular system looks like it's in pretty good shape. I know we covered a lot of ground, but if you gained any value out of this, if you found this informative in any way, hit that like button, hit subscribe. I have videos posted every day on the world of well and septic, and I look forward to talking to you guys tomorrow.